Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the one and only Beth Traverso. How you doing, Beth?
Hi, doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me back. Always nice to
Awesome.
be
What
here.
it is, it's wonderful. People just love you being a part of our expert series. So thank you for coming back each week.
Thank you.
What people may not know if they haven't seen you before is you are a top 1% agent. You've been investing yourself. You're part of Tom Ferry's organization. Just got back from Bigger Pockets. You're doing all of these amazing things. So I've got to ask, you bump into somebody at Starbucks, somebody that's not really in your network. They just got their real estate license. They're going to sit down with you for 20 minutes, right? You're giving them 20 minutes. What's kind of the message you have for them in 20 minutes for a brand new real estate agent?
Yeah, so I chat with people who are newly licensed all the time, and so I'm here to help. And I remember what it was like for me with getting started, where I felt like I didn't have a lot of support and didn't know what to do, and it all felt overwhelming. And those feelings are normal. I would say back then there weren't teams, and so everyone was really much on their own. Now I can say that if someone comes to me as a new agent, I say you don't have to be on your own. And my first advice would be to align yourself with the right brokerage that provides training and support, or better yet, probably join a team as a buyer agent, because then you can be in the mix and doing the work like you like to do around here, doing the work of learning how to be a real estate broker, and getting the skills that you need. Because if you're around other agents and a team leader that are in the business, working with buyers, working with sellers, that's the best practice you can get. And when you're a new agent, the hardest thing is getting the clients, getting the buyers, getting the sellers. And so if you have a team that can integrate you into their process, then you can learn about their systems and processes. If you don't want to be on a team, then I would say maybe find a mentor at a brokerage that can teach you how to treat your business like a business. Because if people are just winging it and waiting to see what random deals come along, that's not a formula for success. And you'll have a lot of peaks and valleys and inconsistent income. There's a high failure rate in this business. But those that are really learning their craft and take the time to learn how to do excellent work. So find people to emulate, find buyer's agents that are doing an excellent job, find listing agents that are doing an excellent job, and watch and learn, take notes of what they're doing. You mentioned Tom Ferry too. He has this thing he calls R&D, rip off and duplicate. And agents in that network, some of the best in the business, are like, hey, here's my wonderful listing presentation. Take it, do it, run with it, make it your own. People that are successful in this business are really open to sharing. They don't feel like a scarcity mindset of we have to hold what's ours. You don't worry about people that are like that. Find the ones that are givers. They're out there. There's plenty of success for everyone that's willing to work for it and willing to just get out there and learn how to be the very best agent you can be. This is a challenging time to get in the business, but I've got news for people. It's always challenging. It's never been an easy business to break into. Even last year when it was earlier this year when it was just like, hey, everything's selling like crazy. It was tough for new agents because they're out there battling against 20, 30 other agents and their buyers on every single house. And it was very discouraging and hard to get a deal done. In some ways, this is a better time to be a new agent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When I talk to new salespeople, never really agents, but I've talked to new software salespeople for decades. I would want to tell them, if we're talking to agents here, I would tell them you need to have a 1-year commitment. I think, you can always correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of people come to real estate because they think it's easy and they think it's a lot of money.
Yep.
I think coming into that environment anytime, especially now, you got to level set them, right? You got to almost have to cut their legs out from under them. This could be the hard, like if you do this for 20 years, this might be the hardest 2 years of your career. Just accept that.
Yep.
But the beauty is, if you're new, you don't have any of those extra costs and overheads that sometimes you get when you've had some success and your second lease payment on a fancy car or whatever. What I would tell a new agent, your number one goal is to have a Rolodex of 100 people in 6 months or a year, whatever is appropriate. I don't know what the answer is, but the real estate agents that I have seen be most successful have a Rolodex of repeat buyers and referrals and all of that. So I think I would tell an agent, don't focus on the money, focus on the network. Does that make sense, or am I just
Absolutely.
off?
I never focus on the money even today. I just focus on doing a great job and connecting with people. So like having that CRM, and by the way, it doesn't matter which one you use, just get one and use it. People spend way too much time thinking about stuff that doesn't matter. Talk to people, make sure they know what you're doing, get the word out, tell everybody. And it's just about, connecting with people. And one thing also I want to mention is a lot of people have the mistaken idea that this business is about HGTV, or just like, oh, I love to show pretty houses. That is such a small, minute part of this business. Really, I think the bigger thing people need to focus on is their EQ.
Mm,
So dealing with people who are buying and selling homes, we're dealing with people, not houses. And people going through transition tend to be stressed. It's a natural reaction to the best of us when we're going through
mhm.
a move or a life change. And
Yes.
they're looking to you as the center of this process to guide them through that. And you need to be the calm center that can help people navigate this time and get them where they want to be. And I think that's something that's rarely talked about and gets overlooked a lot. But I think the top agents, the best of the best, are the ones that have a really good EQ. They're able to keep people on track. They're able to focus on what's important. And, there's a lot of chaos that goes on in this business, and random problems can get dropped in your lap, and you got to know how to handle that.
Yeah.
And keep your clients on track with that too, and make sure they know it's going to be all right because they're in good hands with you.
Yeah, this is such a people business. Whether you're buying and selling homes, whether you're a landlord, whatever it is, it's such a people
Landlords too,
business.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's the other thing that I think is really important is um creativity, right? I think in an environment where rates are up and affordability is down, it's just sometimes you have to be more creative, right? When you need to sell, right? Is price the only thing you could do? Maybe you could do terms. Maybe you can take a second. You can help create a blended interest rate, which makes the payment better for a buyer. There's just lots of things to do. And as a real estate agent, if you skill up on creative financing, or just understand it doesn't always have to be a bank loan, or at least 100% bank loan,
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of options. Right? You just did a deal seller financing 3 or 4 weeks ago. Is just one example.
I did.
Uh, I think agents. I think agents really could hone in on creativity. I think.
I agree with that as well. And especially we're going into a higher rate, interest rate environment that we haven't seen in a very long time. And so, there haven't been that many agents that have been in the business back in I want to start networking with some agents that have been in the business back in the early 80s. I don't know that many of them, most of them have retired by now, but there's a few out there. But I want to learn about more of these strategies that people are using. And of course, yes, the seller financing is one of them, and just being aware of different things we can do, rate buy downs, and, it doesn't have to be hyper, assumable loans. Those are something that's maybe like, oh, what if you do an assumable loan and then a seller carryback, and there's other things, like there's things you can do.
Exactly.
And pulling those tools out when we need them, and just knowing they exist, is a big part of it too. And so the other thing that I want to emphasize for new agents that gets the ball dropped the most is follow up.
Mm,
If you follow up with people, and I want to give one example. So when I'm in different areas, I'm always poking around at real estate. And I was down in Tucson, Arizona back in February, and I was like, oh, Tucson is wonderful. This is beautiful down here. And so I went to some open houses and, chatted with an agent, at one. And I left my card, told him I was an agent up in Seattle. Again, you network, right? So, and then I talked to somebody else who was, I won't, name any names, but I talked to another person that was a long time pro, and said, I'm thinking about maybe through my network. And I was saying, I'm thinking about maybe purchasing something down here, maybe as a short-term rental, who knows, just kind of curious. And could you set me up on some alerts and listing, I want some listing info. The long-term pro, I never heard from that person ever again, and never got any updates or anything. The younger guy who was hungry, he has this follow-up game down, and I had to tell him, congrats, hats off to you. He's sending me video messages, he's emailing me market updates, I'm getting listing alerts. I told him I'm probably not doing anything until who knows when. I'm just curious. He's like, hey, it's all good, just keeping you informed. And I have to say, if I ever do purchase something in that area, I think I know who I'm going to call, just because he earned it. So all
yeah.
you have to do is do what you say you're going to do, when you're going to do it. And if you do that one thing, you will be way ahead of the vast majority out there.
Yeah, it's funny. I have probably spoken to 200, maybe 250 different real estate agents in my market. Um, over the last 2 decades, maybe more. And I would say there's a handful. I can think of 3 or 4, and so maybe it's 10 that actually ever truly followed up. And that's
Mm.
amazing. I'm a known quantity with multiple
Yeah.
purchases, and still less than 10% followed up or made more. Some of them make 1 phone call, but they don't make 2. I'm like, well, okay. So
Some
it's
of it goes back to systems too, because if you get hundreds of people in there, sometimes, you get distracted, but if you have your system set up to automatic, like that person I was talking about, I'm sure he just put me in his CRM and he sends those things out to everybody. Every once in a while, he send me a personalized video text like, "Hey Beth, I'm at this place. Sounds like what you were maybe looking for." But it's just you automate it in the follow-up system. That's it. You don't have to remember all that stuff in your head, but you just have to have your list, and every day you do your prospecting, you reach out to your people, text them, reach out on social media, etc. That alone will build your business probably faster than anything else.
great advice. Beth, if somebody want to reach out, follow you, join your team, how would you want them to reach out?
Yeah, so they can find me at bethtraversogroup.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.